Okay, great. So we're down to the last two town hall meetings before the end of 2022. Hard to believe that this year's gone by so quickly with so much things going on, but we are almost at the end. So we will have our town hall today, and our last town hall meeting will be on Wednesday, December 14th. And then we will then resume again in January, the first weekend of January. Oh, we got some good background noise there. Okay, so a number of updates today. We'll cover some new sanctioning criteria and some indoor updates. We're going to talk about the cross-country results from last week and a few other updates in our high performance area. And we'll have some coaching updates, some 2023 membership updates, and we'll have our normal road and trail update as well. So I'll first of all turn it over to you, Randolph.
Perfect. Thanks, Paul. So I have two updates today. I'll start with the easy one. Indoor competitions, the mini meets, and the meets in January, info for that has been posted, and Tracky registration links are there. The Tracky isn't to register is currently disabled. We're just fixing a few things before we enable it. So you should be able to start registering for the mini meets or the combined events, relays, championships, or the U16 last chance meet in January. In regards to, I just wanted to talk real quickly about the U16 last chance meet. So just as I know that either Angela or Sahid may talk about the coach selection later on in the call, but for the athletes, once again, the last day to qualify, not necessarily qualify, the better word is to get a performance into the rankings in order to be considered for the team, is on that January 28th, that's Sunday, or 29th. The declaration and the qualification window closes on January 30th. There aren't any scheduled meets on the 30th, so that 29th is really that last day there. Athletes do need to make sure that they are declared. If they don't declare for the event, they won't get selected for the competition. They can always wait to declare until that Monday on the 30th, as long as they've got their competitions in. Prior to that, they get their performances into the rankings, and they know that they can use those performances to get selected. I know that it is a short time frame. There's very limited meets. As it has been in the past, you will be able to use converted times from outdoors or performances from the 2022 indoor season to potentially get selected for the team. So if there are any questions about team selection, you can send it to the operations@athleticsontario.ca email, and that'll be outlined in the selection document that'll be posted on the U16 Dual Meet website there. Any questions currently for any indoor season concerns, scheduling, or anything at all? I don't see anything. Perfect. So I will move in on to my second topic, which is quite an important update that's coming down the pipeline regarding sanctioning. So as some of you may know, others may not, World Athletics is implementing a requirement for performances to get onto the world rankings, which will have quite a few implications to competitions that are held in Canada and specifically in Ontario. So what they are mandating is that they will only accept performances into the world rankings if this competition is World Athletics sanctioned. So that will be boiled down to us and organized provincially. There is a sanctioning fee that is required by World Athletics to get World Athletics sanctioned. It is $100 US. That's on top of any of the regular provincial sanctioning that you will have to go through when you get your regular sanctioning through Ontario. What we've built is a tiered sanctioning system to help meet directors understand the requirements that will be needed for the World Athletics sanctioning. So we'll have a gold, silver tier, gold, silver, bronze tiered sanctioning. So I'll start off with the gold sanctioning. The gold label sanctioning will be the only sanctioning that will include World Athletics sanctioning. The criteria for that's been included in the sanctioning criteria is basically that there will be a requirement, a mandatory requirement to have level 3 officials in each of the event disciplines that are offered in that particular competition, as well as a full slate of supporting officials of various levels registered for the competitive year for each of those event disciplines. So those levels can range from level 1, level 2, level 3, up to level 5, to ensure that you have the coverage for that particular competition. The additional detail to why events may want to get gold label or gold tier sanctioning, which includes a World Athletics sanctioning, is as a result of how athletes will get selected for national teams. So only performances that show up on the world rankings will be eligible performances that can be used for national team selection. So if a competition doesn't get gold label sanctioning, they go for silver or bronze, which I'll explain the difference later on. Those performances in those lower tiers won't get on. And if they have a great performance, you have a high performance athlete that's trying to make a national team, that performance won't get considered when it comes to being selected for a national team. Yes, John.
And is this, sorry, just trying to understand the gold level sanctioning. So for national teams, and Athletics Canada now has said for senior, junior, youth, all age categories, they have to have performances within a gold level standard.
Yes, in our gold tier sanctioning, yes. Where it affects the athletes the most.
Just to jump in very quickly, Randall. So the gold level sanction is an AO sanction, right? Which includes World Athletics sanction. Athletics Canada is only looking at results in World Athletics sanctioned events.
Right. So, but this needs
in BC, they may have a World Athletics sanctioned event that's not an AO gold sanctioned event. So
not an AO, but yeah, I'm just trying to understand, Paul. Randolph's talking about now this new World Athletics sanctioning. So they get $100 US. So that's a new cost to meet directors. But really the trickle down now. So Athletics Canada has also decreed now that
Athletics Canada has no choice.
Okay, they have no choice. So if anybody in Canada, so the past cross-country championships as an example, I hope that was World Athletics sanctioned, because we now have senior, youth, junior teams getting ready for World Athletics cross-country and NACAC.
So this applies to all 2023 events.
So 2022, this past,
it's all good.
Doesn't matter.
No, it's all good.
Okay, so it's more money for the meet directors, and we just have to communicate. We have to communicate to coaches and athletes where youth and junior and senior kids are going to have to get their performances. So offset won't be.
So you want to understand the principle behind why they're doing this. The principle, of course, is the fact that around the world, many countries don't have great systems.
Mm-hmm.
They're not nearly as good as we are in Canada and North America. And so this is to eliminate a number of problematic countries, as they will be forced to get World Athletics sanction. So this in the end will benefit Canadian athletes who are now going to be ranked against athletes who have to have World Athletics sanctioned results that go in there. And so we know that the last few years, the whole World Athletics point system has changed dramatically the way athletes in Canada get onto teams. And this will in fact help us a lot, as only World Athletics sanctioned events will now be in the results. And so it will be many of the countries that just simply can't do World Athletics sanctioned events, their athletes will have to get it at events that are sanctioned. They'll have to travel, etc. So I want to be careful of not just, you know, throwing out that this is just a $100 money grab from
No.
World Athletics.
Not necessarily. We need to be clear,
Yep.
you know, for all our clubs, because there are going to be juniors and youth that are definitely gunning for national team status and performances. And it's going to trickle down to certainly our Ontario base. Like Paul, your point about BC, I get it. There will probably have to be traveling out there. But, you know, lots of Ontario and Toronto clubs have gone to the AAU as an example. Hopefully they'll have that certification.
Yeah.
And
So
do we know from Athletics Canada whether the criteria will have a clause for non-gold performances?
So just, if we could keep the terminology that we're talking about World Athletics sanctioned events. Let's not use the gold terminology. The gold terminology is just how we're helping our meets in Ontario understand the different levels in Ontario from a sanctioning perspective. So it's a World Athletics event, sanctioned event. That's what we're talking about for all the performances. We anticipate that this is not going to be as big of a deal for our open senior athletes, who most of them are going to very high performance meets. For our younger athletes, our U20 athletes, this is going to be very problematic, as they will often compete at a lot of local events, on twilight meets and other things like that, to try and get standards. So that's going to be something that we're really going to have to communicate with that. I don't know, is there still World Athletic Youth? I thought that was canceled, Randolph.
no, there's NACAC, but not World Athletics.
Got it. So we'll apply to the NACAC youth event, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Angela, you got a question?
Not so much a question, but a statement. As much as this is kind of a little bit of a pain in the backside, remember that there's several ways a couple ways you can qualify for a team. Hit the standard, right? So you don't really necessarily, I don't know if you have to hit standard at that level of meet, but if you want to go on a point system, us sanctioning through World Athletics gives, yes, some of our high performance athletes do, but there's limited space at a lot of these meets. So we want to make sure that we can do the best that we can to have sanctioned meets for all those athletes, whether it's our U20, whether it's our high performance. But a lot of these kids, or a lot of the athletes who are on the cusp of making a meet, if we can do something to help our athletes and spend $100 so that we don't, again, there's limited lanes. There's 8 lanes in a lot of these high performance meets across the world. Not only do you have to then also come up with the money to go to these meets. So if we here in Canada can put together a nice domestic series with across Canada, and Ontario being kind of the leaders, I would say, in terms of meets, us having the Inferno and Johnny Loring and all that kind of stuff. So I think that it is quite a benefit. We got to understand that as much as even for our high performance, there's those athletes on the cusp. And if we could do something, it might cost a little bit of money, more organization, but I think it's well worth it, so that we can position ourselves to help our athletes as best as possible to have options, because there aren't a lot of options, except for our high performance athletes that, to tell you the honest truth, are going to make it, because what's the stupid saying of essentially like the riches go to the rich, right? And that happens in our sport where, you know, the Jamaicans, they don't need these meets, but they're getting into those meets. So that takes away a lane from somebody who's on the cusp. So we are going to be the meets that are the cusp meets that will allow our athletes to be able to reach national team.
Yeah, so with that being said, what Angela mentioned there, right off the bat, you'll know that the provincial championships in our high performance meets, like the Johnny Loring, Inferno and all those, they will be applying and getting World Athletic sanctioning. As we know that the criteria that I've outlined is what those competitions usually meet. So what we're going to be working with is other of the meet directors within the province to see what other competitions we can strategically get World Athletic sanctioning for to maximize the opportunities for performances to be eligible into the world rankings. Now, with that being said, Jill mentioned a question in the box here: non-World Athletic Sanction events, will they get into the national ranking? So the answer to that is yes. So how this is going to work, and I know there's going to be a bunch of other questions, which I will get to regarding how this implicates selections, especially for national teams. Basically, our gold level sanctioning, World Athletic sanctioning, you get in world rankings, you get in national rankings, eligible provincial, national records, so on and so forth. Our silver tier sanctioning, which does not have World Athletic sanctioning, is for a lot of those competitions that are looking to just host competitions where they need to get their athletes to get performances for provincials, for nationals, and are not too concerned about having national team athletes potentially compete at those competitions. Now, that doesn't stop national athletes that are looking to get national performances to compete there, but the basis on that is they still get into the national rankings, but those performances won't be considered for national team selection. Now, what we did ask Athletics Canada is, there are potentials where athletes may break a national record at a silver label or a bronze label competition that didn't get World Athletic sanctioning. If that's the case, they still are eligible to, get that record ratified as a national record. But unfortunately, because it was held at a silver or bronze level meet that is not World Athletic sanctioned, it wouldn't be eligible to be a performance to be selected on a team. So that's some of the ramifications of this new World Athletics sanctioning that's coming down the pipeline here. Jill, you had a question about that?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I think of some meets may want to be World Athletic sanctioned, because something like 1500 meter night, there'd be a lot of kids or a lot of U20s. I'm thinking about running times that might make them eligible for world teams. So to some of the bigger meets, it might be to their advantage to get that sanctioning. How difficult is it going to be?
So it's not difficult to get the sanctioning. So what happens is that the meet directors apply on the World Athletics portal. That goes to AC, which is filtered down to us for approval. So for us to approve it, we need the meet to demonstrate that they have the appropriate officials and facility and all those criteria in order for us to say, yes, we will approve this meet, and it will go up the chain through to get onto the World global calendar, as well as ensure that those performances get into the rankings. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Sorry, I froze. My internet is unstable. Are you going to have checklists for meet directors? And give that to them so they know what they need to do.
Yes.
Thank you.
We have thought of that. What we are implementing for our gold and silver tier, more important for the gold tier, is a officials, what did we call it? Officials post-event competition survey. So it'll be a simple survey for officials, each of the lead officials in each of the event disciplines, specifically for gold label, where you'll have that requirement to have level 3 officials, as a checklist of sorts to say that the event had the necessary individuals to ensure that the particular event was carried out accurately and basically accurately, so that the results can be accepted. So it's not a submit your results and then we submit it to AC and then they submit it to World Athletics, it's done. No, we need a checklist and a verification from the officials for each of those gold label meets, as well as the silver label, but more particularly the gold label meets, to ensure that we can go ahead and push those results over. If there's a particular event where there might have been some kind of questionable officiating, that the level 3 official doesn't feel comfortable saying that it was effectively completed properly, then maybe that particular event, but that shouldn't affect the rest of the competition if every other official, each event discipline is verifying that everything is fine there. So yes, I'll leave it at that for the post-event competition survey. So that'll be implemented in both the gold and silver. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the silver and bronze label meets. So unless anyone had more questions about the gold label competitions, Ian, you got a question?
Yeah, so it sounds like the sanctioning is something that gets requested well.
Sorry, Ian, you broke up a little bit there. We didn't hear the question.
Sorry, switching headset. Sorry. So it sounds like the sanctioning is something that gets clarified or submitted and approved well in advance of the meet, right? But something like for arranging the officials, that often isn't confirmed until the last week or thereabouts, depending on people's schedules. So it sounds like your post-meet official survey is the checks on that. So it's possible a meet could get the sanctioning approval in advance, but for whatever reason, the officiating falls through and it doesn't hold up after the meet.
That is
Okay.
correct. That's part of the purpose of the post-event competition survey, because we do know that there are struggles with recruiting officials very early on, and then it usually comes together very close to the meet. And you know, there may be occasions where there may not necessarily be enough officials for a particular event or whatnot. So that's why that post-event competition survey is being issued down through our sanctioning.
Okay,
Lynn,
so meets could potentially be a bit surprised after the fact that they've got their sanctioning going into the event. Athletes are entering expecting gold meet, but after the fact they find out it's no longer eligible.
And that's something that the meet directors would their responsibility to stay on top of in terms of having the available officials. If they know that they're not getting the officials, like if they have one official in a, you know, in a shop win, right? That's not effective for the requirement on the gold tier sanctioning. So they'll know ahead of time. It's like, what do they have to do in order to fill in the positions? Is it that they can work with that level 3 official and figure out if there's competent individuals that can work it, and if that level 3 official agrees that those individuals can run the event, then we can start working and making sure that that official is comfortable that the event was carried out in an accurate manner and can be accepted as legitimate performances. That's the main key there. Now the expectation is to have registered officials working in those gold label meets. Now that could be like a level 1 registered official. You know, that could be someone that may have 10 years of experience but just never took the tests, right? But they're a registered level 1 official that's working with a level 3 official, and that level 3 official feels like that person's competent and enough to actually run that particular competition. Elaine, you had a question?
Okay, just to clarify, this is going to be event specific. So it may be at the long jump, we don't have the appropriate officials, but on the track we do. One of the things that in Ontario, we've got to be very careful of, and John Caulfield just put this in the chat, we don't have people running our photo finishing that are qualified as officials at most of our meets. So I think we need to do a lot of work here. And at certain meets, if it's a sanctioned meet, then those meets should be a priority when we're trying to recruit officials. My other concern is when I look at your schedule, Randolph, you have U16 and U20s working together or as a one meet. And you're saying that a World Athletics sanction is the U20 piece, but the U16s aren't. So we could have level 1 and 2 or rookie officials working the 16-year-olds, but not the 20-year-olds. That's very confusing.
Yeah, so that's a very good point there. So we'll need to work on how we schedule those officials there. The priority would be that U20 age division that's looking to make a national team. a U16 athlete, like if we have to decide to split officials based off of those age groups that are in a particular competition, a U16 athlete is likely not looking to make a national team. If they are, they're likely going to move up and compete in that U20 division. And you're looking at specific events where the specification is a little bit higher, like hurdles where they'll have to go over U20 hurdle height or things like that. So that is a very good point, and that has to be sorted more so seen in the championships than it is for like an Inferno or Johnny Lauren, which is usually all open categories.
So I'm just looking at the indoor championships because I think you're going to have to restructure or rejig the way you present this, which maybe I'm out to lunch, but I really think that there needs to be some education with the officials. And again, how are we managing that we have to have a chief and an assistant chief at an event that are at least level 3, because then all your minor officials, you can use the lower officials or use minors. But does this mean that volunteers don't have a role anymore at these big meets, or will they be able to do flags or be able to do call up or be able to do whatever we've had them doing for the last 10 to 20 years?
Yeah, so that's a good question there. So there are some volunteer roles that I know are outsourced that are typically official roles, like you said, like calling the athletes that are next to jump, things like that, or like you mentioned, like raising flags for like faults or whatnot. So with that boils down back to what the lead official or the chief in the particular event can assign to a volunteer role that may not necessarily be a registered official. So
I think you need a criteria, Randolph. Don't leave it just to the lead official. I'm sorry.
So Randolph, can I make a suggestion here in the essence of time? Most of these questions right now are really going to be geared for the officials. And I think we should set up another session just specific for officials and really go through the whole thing with the officials group themselves. I think that is very warranted in this case, rather than spending, because we could probably spend the whole hour talking about some of the nuances of this system, but it might be good just to finish off the bronze level kind of difference there, as there is some nuances. But Anthony, I'll let you ask your question first.
Sorry, a little bit of a question which Randolph may get to eventually too, but questions that I have in my mind are: does the process to get World Athletics sanctioning and approval, what's the time frame for that, and will clubs need to think a lot, for many months in advance than they might be used to? And then secondly, for events, I'm thinking like a York or U of T Twilight meet that may want some events World Athletics approved. Would they need to do maybe 2 applications where because maybe not all events will be able to, because maybe there aren't enough level 3 officials, but they still want to put on a meet and have some events World Athletics? Would that be maybe considered like 2 meets? So one is, or how might that impact?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I'll get to the timeline after. With the question about having a particular event within a competition that may be World Athletics sanctioned. We weren't given indication that there was the ability to do that from Athletics Canada. We actually didn't ask that question. I don't recall, Paul.
But the answer is the event is World Athletics sanctioned, but then the entire meet, but then only events where they get the after the official post-mortem, if you will, signing off, only those events will actually be go into the rankings. So you could have a meet that's like a Twilight meet that gets World Athletics sanctioned, and there could be one event at it that is actually only World Athletics sanctioned. And that one event would be signed off by the officials that it was run according to the World Athletics sanctioning. The event itself would be in in the World Athletics calendar, but we would only send in the results for that one event that was operated under the appropriate criteria.
Yeah, I can't remember who brought up the point earlier, but you'd want to know going into that meet which ones are, like if the meet organizer knows that some
So,
events won't.
Again, this kind of going to come to a lot of conversations with our meet directors on the need for communication with all their athletes. What is World Athletics sanctioned? Right before the meet, sorry, we lost the officials. We won't be World Athletics sanctioned. They're also going to know who's in their meet. They'll have a pretty good idea of people that are going for World Athletics rankings, and many of the people will probably be athletes. I know I would be reaching out to the meet directors to say, hey, I'm looking for a ranking in the World Athletics system. Is this meet going to be appropriate? Even if it was World Athletics, I'd still be checking. So there's going to be a lot of needed communication.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so just real quickly, because I know the rest of the team has some other updates. Silver label sanctioning. It is recommended to have that minimum level 3 official in each of your event disciplines. If you need to fill in, and then the next point, it is recommended also to have the full slate of officials supporting that level 3 official. But if you can't, due to scheduling issues, the meet director should be working with that level 3 official to see if they have the required individuals that are competent, knowledgeable enough to be able to carry out the event in an accurate, fair, accurate, and without greatly affecting the integrity of the Athletics Canada and Athletics Ontario competition rules, basically. I've already mentioned that performances from the silver label competition will get into national rankings. It is also eligible for provincial and national records, granted the regular provincial national record application process. And regular sanctioning fees haven't changed for silver label sanctioning. It's the same as what we've had in the past. For bronze label sanctioning, we've recognized that there are competitions out there that are more of a developmental piece, both for athletes, officials, or even meet directors that are new to hosting competitions or holding competitions for much younger divisions, our U8, U10, U12 divisions. So we've introduced the bronze label sanctioning as an opportunity for those events to basically get sanctioning that will also be included in the national rankings. Now, we know that there's no national rankings for the U8, 10, 12 divisions, but they do keep provincial rankings within Athletics Canada. So that's part of why we still need that sanctioning for those particular competitions. Now, it's recommended, again, once again, to have a level 3 official because they're knowledgeable, they know the safety procedures and all that. But you can run those competitions with level 2 or level 1 officials because it is more geared towards grassroots, younger athletes. And the results from bronze label competitions that'll get into the national rankings, which is really just provincial rankings held by AC, is only for the U8, U10, U12, U14 divisions. So you may have U16, U18, U20 athletes in bronze label competitions, but those performances won't get into the rankings. Now, once again, there's the caveat of the officials post-event competition survey, and this is similar to what Paul mentioned, is that you may have a bronze label competition, but there may be a particular event within it that has the required officials where a U16 or U18 or U20 athlete may be able to get those performances into the rankings. So in a bronze label sanction competition, there is no requirement to get the post-event competition survey done. But if you do have a particular event within a bronze label, once again, you have to get that post-event competition survey completed for those older age categories performances to be recognized. Now, just real quickly to what Anthony mentioned about timeframes for submission. The World Athletics requires 60 days advance notice for the minimum for the competition to be sanctioned. They said they will have some leniency in 2023 because it is new and they only tested it this past summer. and they don't know if there are going to be more hiccups with the system on the back end. But as it stands, what we're doing on our side is we're requiring a 90-day advance. So it's an intent to host. So we already know that a lot of the HP meets that we know that are going to get World Athletics sanctioning, like I mentioned, the Johnny Loring, the Inferno, our championships, we're all getting that taken care of now. We will be sending notice to all past event meet directors of all the criteria and all the deadlines so that they can start thinking about when they want to host their meet and whether or not it makes sense for them to get World Athletics sanctioning. I can't speak for all meet directors, but I don't foresee every single event in Ontario getting World Athletics sanctioning. We'll be monitoring that very closely and making sure that what makes sense to actually get World Athletics sanctioning for whatever particular events that are looking to host this coming outdoor season and indoor season, but more so for the outdoor season. Cost breakdown, like I mentioned, the World Athletics sanctioning $100 USD. For the provincial sanctioning for indoor, for the gold and silver, it's basically $50 if it's submitted within before the deadline for either the indoor or outdoor cutoff. So the indoor cutoff would be October 31st. And then the outdoor cutoff would be March 31st for the $50 provincial sanctioning. And then anything that comes in after that is just an additional $25 on top of the sanctioning fee. So it'd be $75 for both the indoor and outdoor. The bronze label sanctioning is just $25 before the deadline and $50 after the deadline. So we'll have the full sanctioning criteria updated and posted so that the meet directors can take a look at that. And you should see info coming out specifically if you've hosted a competition within the last 2 years, just so that you know that this is coming down the pipeline. So I think I'll end on that if anyone else has any questions on this.
Just quickly, Randolph, to answer John's question about the MTA, I don't believe the MTA performances currently go into the AC rankings.
If they apply for approval, they do. The only events that ever went into the rankings in recent history was the MTA championships. So I don't foresee any of the regular lead up competitions that they host to get sanctioning.
But John, we will let the MTA know about the new changes. Okay, any other questions? We've got 20 minutes to cover off the rest, so I think that was.
Hello.
Go ahead, Brian.
Okay, so this is going to mean a fair amount to officials, especially Catherine, who is trying to put together the officials for meets. So please, let's get together on a Zoom or something else so that we can really understand what's going on, so that, again, myself and the other council members can explain this to our people. So sooner than later. Okay.
Yep, absolutely.
So it still goes back to the upgrading the level 3 priority.
Yep.
Sorry, one last question. So what about qualification for provincial teams? Is that World Athletic approved, or is that?
You don't need your performances on the world rankings in order for the performance that you want to submit to be selected. It's only for AC.
It's only for AC. It's not.
It's only for national teams.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Randolph. Angela. Let's follow that one.
I'm going to be as short and sweet as possible. Understandably that this is an important issue, and hopefully we can just have meetings outside that can clarify stuff. But anyways, for me, hello everybody, happy Wednesday. Hope you're all doing well. I'm just going to go real quick. So first thing, I'd like to touch base about Team Ontario at the Nationals, cross-country Nationals. So for results for the branch, so this is Team Ontario against the other provinces. Our U18 girls were second, our U18 boys were first, our U20 women were third, our U20 men were first, our open women were first and open men were first. So we're very proud and would like to congratulate everybody who was on Team Ontario. Yes, thank you. Round of applause. Very happy with the athletes that did accept to be on the team. I know that you can score for both your province and your team, but we really hope that wearing the Team Ontario singlet carries some weight, especially for our athletes who would like to put that on their resume. It really looks good to say, hey, I was on Team Ontario and they did a fantastic job. So congratulations to all of those athletes that competed for Team Ontario at the championships. Just quick shout outs for our top scorers in every category. So for our U18 girls, Gabby Jones, she was first. So congratulations to her. U18 boys, Eric Unger, he was first. So again, congratulations. For U20, our top scorer for the U20 women was Emily Seskon. So congratulations to her. On the men's side, U20 men's, Roman Mironov, he was first. He was the top scorer. And then on the women's side, women's open, we had Julianne Staley. She was first. She was the top scorer. And then Max Turek, he was third in terms of our top scorer. He placed third. So again, congratulations to all of them. Jump Symposium. So I'm not too sure if anybody had any comments on that real quick. Nope, perfect. Moving right along. Jump Symposium. We're now down to a few more days. Our deadline for registration is December 5th. So again, we still have room. We want people to join in. We want to make sure that our jumps community is building. So I know some people on this call have registered. If you know anybody, please take a look. So thank you, Sahid. He just put it into the chat. The registration link is in the chat. We also have it on our website. If you want information directly to you, please do not hesitate to email me directly. I have plenty of information about our presenters, but want to highlight Tim Mack, 2004 gold medalist at the Olympics, and he broke the Olympic record at that meet. He's going to be a very interesting presenter because he wrote all of his programs himself for his gold medal performance. And then Jeremy Fisher from the States, from the Olympic Training Center, he's coached a whole plethora of world champions, Olympic champions, gold medalists, medalists of all colors. So please join us. Please get registered or send information along. We want to build out this community because we think we can do a good job getting everybody connected in that community. I feel like there was one last, yes, important grant. So Sahid will drop the application. It's from Athletics Canada. It's the so Becoming Para Ready grant. We will also have information on it on our website. We're trying to get the link in the meeting, but it's not working out. So again, this is for to get clubs. So whether or not you're already established as a para club or not, please take a look. You can get some funds to help you become para ready. So this is going to help you if you want to have a para, like a para triad event or whatever event you want to have. So please contact me if you want more information about that. We really hope that people are picking up on trying to become para ready and having the grants available to you to help you with that. Any questions on that? Okay, sounds great. Thank you, everybody.
Sorry, thanks, Angela. Sahid, any updates on coaching?
Yeah, I just had a couple reminders. Thanks, Paul. So we've got two things. So the Team Ontario declarations will be opening for the selection staff for the dual meet in February 11th. So anybody that's interested, whether it's folks on here or maybe some folks on your coaching staffs that are interested in submitting their interest, that'll be the call out will be in our coaching newsletter tomorrow, which gets sent out approximately 4 p.m. So keep an eye out for that. And then in regards to some coaching courses, just a reminder, we have a Foundations of Online coaching course running next week on Tuesday and Thursday from 6 to 10. The deadline to register for that is going to be tomorrow by midnight. And then lastly, again, we're offering all 4 club coach disciplines in London, December 17th and 18th. Those spots are filling really quickly. And then the registration deadline for that is actually December 9th. And so we won't have another town hall until after that. So I just wanted to encourage everybody that, again, any folks on here or anybody on your staff that's looking to get some sports specific club training underneath their belt to check that out. And that is about it. And there will be some other, the AC webinar, December 15th, that'll be in our newsletter. So a lot of good information in our newsletter today, and then even more so tomorrow. And that's about it, Paul.
Thanks, Saeed. Any questions for Saeed on coaching? Okay, thank you. Cheryl, Road and Trail.
Hi, guys. Just two updates. Our Race Director Summit is on January 21st. It's all shaped up, got some awesome speakers. All are welcome. You don't have to be a road race director. It's really, really relevant for anybody putting on any kind of event, really. The registration is here. And there was a virtual component of that as well. So if you can't be there in person, it will be recorded, and it will be actually live virtual. So there'll be a recording made available afterwards for registrants, and then also live virtual. And secondly, Anthony was going to discuss this too with membership, but our Road and Trail membership, there's a little bit of a change this year in the pricing of our memberships. And really important to know that if you have a club and you have participants in your club that aren't competitive members, that aren't meeting, rankings, they're not competing in sanctioned track or cross-country events, but just require essentially insurance and want an AO membership or AC membership. Our Road and Trail membership is $25, whereas our rec membership is actually $30.65. I forget the cent value there. So just important to know that you can register them in the Road and Trail category. And any further questions, you can contact myself or Anthony about that. Other than that, that is about it for now. Does anybody have any questions? Great.
Thanks, Cheryl. Anthony, want to take us home?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Paul, you mentioned earlier that this year has gone really quickly. I don't know about that, but like this meeting, but I'll wrap it up quick. We have opened club affiliation renewal. So our information on our website is up and clubs can renew their memberships. We've begun receiving some of those affiliations. So those are starting to come in quickly, which is great. Once your club has renewed, you can renew your individual members as well. Officially, individual members can renew for 2023 starting tomorrow, December 1st. In terms of changes, everything is mostly the same as past years. The fees are almost all the same, except for some of the U8, U10 outdoor memberships and our rec memberships, but everything is, and those are only just a couple, I think, $2 to $5 increases there. And the club and race organization fees are also the same as they have been last year. The one, I'd say, major difference this year impacts coaches and officials with respect to your police checks. So in the past years, if you completed a police check on June 1st, then that would be valid until June 1st of the following year. Going forward, due to some of the confusion that would have been caused in the past for some individuals, we're going to line up the police check so that it expires at the same time at the end of the membership year. Which brings into a few individuals that would have, if, for example, and we're using as of July 1st, if you submitted a police check after July 1st, 2022, we will, and you renew your membership for 2023, you won't need to provide another police check until your 2024 renewal. So that will mean that if you did, when a coach or official renews for 2023, if you did submit a police check after July 1st, just send us an email to our office email indicating that you've completed one or submitted one that was valid after that date, and we'll make sure that your membership's no longer pending. Officials, they have their police check that's included with their membership if they would like to use our service. So we will also have that available again for 2023 officials. And I believe that's it. I see Lynn has a question.
Anthony, I just was looking at the AO website under officials, and it's still talking about how to register for 2022. Can that be updated in the
Sure,
next
sorry.
couple of days?
Which page is that on?
Registration.
Oh, and the officials registration. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. I'll
Okay,
that'll be
thanks very much.
updated
I
today.
appreciate that.
No problem. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Paul.
Okay, great.
Registration forms for the athletes, the form, when is it going up?
They're up now.
They are?
So
Okay.
if you go to the athlete registration page or the club registration page, those PDF forms for clubs that have their members submit a manual form for the club to process, those PDF forms are now available as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
Okay. Thanks, Anthony. Last but not least, next week is our annual awards gala. It will be again on Zoom, and it'll be Tuesday and Wednesday night from 7 till 9 o'clock. We've got some good speakers lined up. Great MC. Angela, do you want to just mention who our speakers and MC are for our gala next week?
Yeah, 1 second. So we have so for our MC, we have Shakund McKinday. He's been a national team member. He's been on the Canadian relay team, Olympian. He also has a podcast called The Inner Olympian. So he's going to be really great to have with us for our MC. And then our speakers. So on the first night, we'll have Nandini Sharma. She was on the 2022 Commonwealth Games. She is a para-athlete, dual athlete. She also plays sledge hockey. She has a fantastic story. I highly recommend you Google her. She has a really cool story of like her relationship with her father and her making the Commonwealth Games this year. So we'll get to talk to her about being a dual athlete, things like that. And then for the next night, we have Jared Skeeth, who was a multi-time OUA gold medalist in the throws, and he has now moved into a coaching position with the University of York. So he competed for Guelph and then has now moved into a coaching position with York. So we get to get his perspective on what it's like to turn from like a high performing collegiate athlete, his experience there, and then moving gradually into the coaching position, and what's that like in terms of helping the next generation of throwers in Ontario. So really excited to be able to have those speakers join us and cover a good section of our membership in terms of participation within our sport.
Thank you, Angela. And of course, we've got lots of other awards that'll be going on with the Athletes of the Year, Officials of the Year, a number of other awards, including our All Ontario Athletes, which I believe, Deborah, we're going to have the All Ontario Athletes listed on the website tonight. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Beautiful. Wonderful. So keep your eyes open. We'll be in the newsletter tonight, and you'll see all of the wonderful athlete results with a huge number of All Ontario athletes this year. So wonderful news. And that is a wrap for today with 3 minutes to spare. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, wonderful. I hope to see you all on our awards gala next week. And if not there, then we'll see you in 2 weeks when we have our last town hall before the end of the year. Thanks all.